What's up, guys? Sub-Zero here, back for not another VOD review. Today we're going to be reviewing the patch 15.7 notes. This is the regionals patch, which is probably going to shift a little very slightly for the worlds patch. So this is going to be what we're on for, the rest of the set. We got about a month left of this set until PBE and then on to set 16 and all that. But right now, if you're trying to finish up your climb for this set, trying to hit your peak rank, let's break down this patch, talk about everything that has changed, go through all the changes. And one of the other kind of interesting things about this patch is because, regional starts on Friday, a lot of these pro players, they don't want to just not practice at all this patch and then, it comes out on Wednesday and then have to play it on Friday. A lot of these players have been scrimming on the PBE server to try to understand this patch, see what's strong and what's meta. So it's already a pretty developed patch. You can see this is Kiyun's take here, and let me move my head a little bit. But it says meta is mostly split between reroll and fast 9. 4 cross boards are inconsistent, which is the idea. So S tier still going to be the 7 mech pilot stuff. With the idea that you mech pilot Aatrox later with Senna, 6 Bastion / Juggernaut fast 9. He actually likes 6 Bastion more because you can play almost every single 5 cost. Braum, TF, Zyra, Seraphine, Gwen, Yone, Katarina reroll, the only reroll comp in like S tier. And then A tier, some more reroll stuff. Mentor, Janna, Kel reroll, Heavyweight Mal's reroll. B tier being Vertical, Star Guardian, Cog reroll, Kate Jace reroll, Crew reroll, 5 Crystal Gambit Mal's reroll, Bastion, Xayah reroll, 6 Bastion, Xayah reroll, and then Heavyweight Schmolder. And then C tier is a lot of other okay stuff. Yumi's, Prodigy's, Jin Mundo, which is kind of conditional. 5 Crystal Gambit Ari, Akali, 6 Sork, Vertical Soul Fighter, GP reroll, which is interesting. The really interesting thing is the Gather Force Shojin GP, which I know a lot of people have said of kind of a meme comp. And then they've just talked about this as well, which I really want to get a VOD of, which is Fury Break on Kale, and then you buff up GP, which is really interesting. And then 4 Mentor Rise, Volibear, 6 Duelist Ashe, this kind of stuff down here. So this is Kiyun's early meta read, and I think it's going to be very helpful to use some of this to kind of give us context for the changes and where they've put a lot of these things. So let's hop into it because I usually make these videos too long rather than too short. Set Revival out. I usually don't play set revivals because I don't really have another tournament to play for this set. I might play this. Would you guys be interested? Let me know in the comments if you guys would be interested in me playing set revival on stream, or do you guys want to see I never really make set revival videos, but if you guys want to see set revival videos and everyone in the comments is I'd love to see some set revival stuff, then let me know and maybe I'll make some videos on the broken Dragonlands comps. So we'll see. But all right. Traits, I'm really just going to look at this here. This they added pretty late. I don't think this was on PBE for most of it, but this is a very big change. They're nerfing pretty hard the 5 Crystal Gambit caches. So the 6 kills 1, instead of giving 2 lesser dupes, now gives 1 dupe and 4 gold. Huge nerf there. The Strat Emblem cash out is moved up to 16 kills, so a lot harder to get there. And then the completed Ironville plus 10 gold is moved down to 12 kills here, and then reduced a little bit, so kind of swapping these a little bit. So yeah, I think this is fantastic changes once people kind of realize how to optimize Crystal Gambit and get these kind of cash outs. You guys saw the video I did of the Crystal Gambit board that in one round, because this is 6 kills, you can very easily get 6 kills one round, 6 kills another round, and he all of a sudden just had 4 duplicators out of nowhere. It's just an insane cash out. And so dropping this down to 1 lesser dupe, this is why you see Kiyun kind of bringing these Crystal Gambit versions of the comp down a little bit, because he's not as excited to play around those, just because you don't have the cap that you once had. You cannot as easily farm stuff like strategy emblems, which are so big, and it also doesn't have the stabilization potential that it once had. But I think these are good changes though. Sork here, this is one of the interesting changes. So Sork's being buffed, for Sork being buffed here, just to try to improve the mid-game a little bit. You really don't see Vertical Sork that much these days. If you see people playing around stuff like Karma and Lucian, it's because they're playing Mighty Mech. And so I like this buff to bring Sork into the meta a little bit, make the mid-game a little bit better. One of the changes that I think is kind of crazy here is that they're buffing Soul Fighter at 4 here, 2 AD/AP per second to 2.5 here, and they're buffing 6 as well. I already, Soul Fighter, if you look at the stats, is already one of the most broken openers. So I don't really understand, if you get 4 Soul Fighter, you're always playing it out. I don't really understand why it's being buffed. 6 I could see to kind of bridge the gap from 6 to 8, but honestly, I don't know. 6, I don't mind 6 Soul Fighter being good and you being excited to play it, but it's interesting to say the least here. We'll see, though. We'll see. But, I mean, I fully expect if you get an early VO, you're really excited to play for Soul Fighter opener. Sniper, slight buffs in the middle here, I think is really, really, really good. You know, you're never excited to play these lower thresholds of Sniper. Strat Shield being kind of flattened out here. So it used to be really weird where you would go from 150 to 225. So you gain 75 here. You gain 125 here. And then you gain 100 here. It's very weird kind of like curve here. Now it's just you gain 50 here and then 100, which I think makes a lot of more sense, makes you more incentivized to play these kind of like, you know, just straight up play it the whole time. It kind of takes some power out of 4 strat, which I think is kind of necessary, and then adds some back into 5 strat. So I think this is a good change overall. And then 4 Wraith buff here as well, I think necessary. Who's excited to play 4 Wraith? Gnar is getting +1 range. This doesn't really mean much to me, but I mean, sure, why not, I guess. I don't mind it too much. I don't think Nar's like a broken unit or anything like that, so I think we can give him a little bit of love. Dr. Shmundo here, this is a big change. He no longer cleanses debuffs and crowd control. There was this idea that Dr. Mundo is actually really good into Malzahar because he cleanses Malzahar poison, which is crazy. And it's just, I don't know how. I don't know how exactly this worked. So yeah, it would allow him to cleanse Sunder and Shred and Malzahar's ability. So they're removing this to make him less of a Malice counter. So it's a slight nerf to Dr. Mundo. It's basically specifically for that matchup. And then also for Shred slash Sunder, it's, you know, could be a big deal with stuff like Last Whisper. So it's weird, slight buff to Mundo. He gets no compensation, which is kind of sad because like Mundo Jin is not really that much of a comp, but I guess they didn't want to overbuff him or anything. I think they could have given a little bit to compensate this. Kobuko, though, getting nerfs and no compensation at all. Super no compensation. His mana is getting nerfed, and his secondary damage is getting nerfed here. And these are big nerfs to Kobuko. I will say, you know, if you look at Kyun's tier list, if you see the games played, Janna Kobuko is still a very, very viable comp. So I think they kind of nailed this change. They did it like perfectly, where they didn't over nerf him, but they didn't under nerf him either. He's a lot weaker, but still, you know, playable. So I think they actually nailed this change. 3 costs here. So Kog'Maw getting nerfed a bit here, which, you know, I think is pretty reasonable. He's obviously the dominant monster trainer right now, so I think a little bit of a nerf to him is reasonable. What's kind of interesting, though, is that they're nerfing Kog'Maw and Yasuo here, so like kind of a double nerf to the Bastion comp. I'm actually trying to remember where, yeah, so Kyun puts Kog in like B tier when before maybe he was in A tier, so I don't think this is too much of an over nerf, but to me, like, I feel it does feel like a bit much where Kog'Maw's getting hit, Yasuo's getting hit, like, you know, double hits onto that comp with 0 compensation, but I feel like the comp is like pretty, I mean, it's so much of an artifact check now after these changes. It was like a slight artifact check this patch. Mal is no longer getting Mage. The idea is that Malzahar, Mage was not an amazing power up on him because he would auto and then lose the mana from that auto in between Mage casts. So I think it's kind of, and I mean, it must have been that the stats actually said Mage was quite bad, because I mean, there were some people out there who said, you know, oh, Mage should be fine, you know, getting the double cast is nice, but I guess the stats on this power up were not very good, so they got rid of it, or maybe it's just they got rid of it because it's an awkward interaction. This is a big one though. Mal's bug fix. When enemies die, there are no longer any instances where 2 stacks of the spell will transfer instead of 1. There was this idea where Mal's would spread 2 stacks when units died instead of 1, which made him, you know, twice as strong. You saw instances where he was spreading Noxious Trap amongst the entire board and just doing disgusting work here. So this is a pretty big nerf to Malzahar here. I think absolutely necessary, but another reason why I think, you know, Kyun is bringing down those Malzahar versions of the comp a little bit. You know, the Crystal Gambit Mal is weaker. The Heavyweight Mal is a little bit weaker than, you know, some of the super high reroll comps like the Katarina reroll, which wasn't touched at all here, except for, we'll get to it, but there's an unstoppable change. Rammus buff, good. This unit's not that exciting. I will say what's kind of interesting is that, like, the only time I've really seen Rammus reroll that much, I mean, we saw it in, like, the heavyweight game that we VOD reviewed recently. But outside of that, is with, like, Kaisa. And Kaisa not getting buffed at all. It feels kind of bad because, like, it feels like this Kaisa comp was quite solid for a lot of the set, and then they just, like, killed her. And she's not coming back this patch. She's not on Kyun's tier list at all there, so do not play Kaisa. But a little bit sad that I would like to see maybe, like, a tiny buff to Kaisa as well, and then maybe we could see, like, Rammus Kaisa come back. Udyr, slight buff here to his heal and his to his base heal and his mentor heal. I think very good. Udyr needs love so that Duelist can come back. I'm pretty sure, once again, Kyun, I think he has Ashe. Yeah, he has 6 Duelist Ashe in the bottom of C tier here. I don't know if this is ordered, but, you know, very, very low on his tier list, and I think it makes sense. This comp got buffed a little bit. We'll see with the Ashe buffs as well, but I think they could have gone further on this. But yeah, as you'll see here, Ashe gets a slight mana buff. it's significant for her, right? Getting her to cast one auto faster and then start going into her pew 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 mode is really, really big. And then every single cast is, you know, one auto faster. So, I mean, it's big, but I still don't really know that it's enough to like really bring her into the meta. And it seems like Kyun agrees. These two changes, I believe, the Karma change and the Yuumi change, I don't think either of these were on PBE. I think these were added late, which means that, you know, Kyun's evaluation of them, like his evaluation is not going to include these changes. So I think it's actually quite interesting. The change here that Karma's getting a pretty decent buff here. Yuumi is getting a pretty decent buff here. What's kind of surprising is, as far as I know, there's not a compensation nerf for Mighty Mech, I believe, which is kind of crazy. We'll see if maybe that was added and I missed it. But it's kind of scary because, I mean, Mighty Mech is already very strong in this patch and we're buffing Karma. And if we don't, I think Mighty Mech kind of needs a compensation nerf to honestly just nerf 7 Mech, put a little bit more power into 5 Mech, and it's all good. Kusante nerf, absolutely necessary. This unit's broken. Leona shield buff, absolutely necessary. I mean, the fact that you would always itemize Kusante over Leona in a comp where you're playing 5 Battle Academia was quite weird. And so maybe this can now bring the balance back a little bit where you're more excited to play for Leona. Poppy shield buff, Star Guardians getting a little bit of love here. I think this is good, especially, you know, last patch when 4 costs, you just weren't that excited to play them. You could succeed with Star Guardians, but especially because I believe best defense is getting nerfed again, I think this is necessary. And then a slight Volibear buff. The thing that I'm a little sad about is I kind of wish they would have buffed Volibear via 4 Luchador. You're really not excited to play 4 Luchador or something like 4 Edgelord. You're really not excited to play like Volibear Edgelords. I really liked earlier in the set when that was a viable comp, and it kind of sucks that they took so much power out of 4 Luchador because, you know, it was seen as like a problematic trait because it had that aggro drop. But I don't see why they can't add back in some healing or some damage to it now. But I mean, certainly seems like they're not going to. And a little bit of buff to Volibear. This really just buffs stuff like for Mentor, where you can play Volibear, or even you could throw him in on like a Mighty Mech board or something like that. It buffs those comps more than it buffs Volibear, like the Volibear comp, which is a little bit sad. But I mean, good overall. Like for Mentor kind of needs a slight buff. And then some 5-cost units. Varus, a bit of a buff here. I think this is good. You're never really excited, you know, to play Fast 9 Varus. As you can see from Kyun's tier list and just from experience of all the VODs I've been doing, you know, Fast 9 is like a TF and then 6 Frontline type comp. You're really not excited to play the old school, you know, like Fast 9 Sniper Varus type stuff. And so I'd like to see this stuff come back a little bit. So I like this buff. And then a Yone buff. This unit is just kind of trash. He's a great trait, almost call him an augment because he's basically just +1 mech. But he's a great trait bot, but he's not a very good unit on his own. And so I think this is a very needed buff to him. Okay, they're moving Howling Gale. Okay, so one thing that I thought was interesting is Blood Rage. I mean, I think this has just been an augment that I've been ignoring too much of this set. It's so awkward to take early, but late game, I mean, worst case, it is 12% damage amp. I'm surprised that they're nerfing this, but I think this is one that kind of flew under the radar because this is not one that I was seeing people pick like really, really highly. But it is one that like, the fact that they're nerfing it suggests that it was probably averaging in like the 4.4, 4.3 type range in their, you know, internal data, which is surprising, but it kind of makes sense. You know, the base case is not even that bad. The Darkness Within. This is another interesting where I don't know if I've taken this augment once. I remember it was bugged at the beginning of the set for a while, for like a day or two. And then since then I haven't taken it a single time, but it's overperforming in the stats, probably. I cannot speak with the experience of having played it. And similarly, Game Plan, the Strategist one, being nerfed as well. Once again, like another one that like, what? Like, was this overperforming? I guess it was. I've never seen somebody take this, which is funny. Howling Gale banned on 3-2. It's kind of weird. I mean, I guess, yeah, I mean, I think it's fine. They don't have any like Howling Gale Plus. So like, it is just objectively weaker on 3-2. I do think this was a solid option in like Kog'Maw comps at 3-2, just knowing that you're going to play for it late game. But I think that's like the only comp it's really good in. I still think that's the only comp it's really good in that, or like you could think about playing it in like in Prodigies and stuff like that. Isekai now requires at least one strategist for the strategist version to appear. It doesn't say anything like that the Sork version can only appear with Sork, so I don't really get this. But I mean, I do like this because I think the other versions are a lot, you know, more kind of like straightforward to play. You know, you play the Sork version in Sorks, whereas the strategist is like, it's kind of weird. I mean, you can fit it on some boards, but you also can, like, it's kind of weird, honestly. Like, you know, you're not playing it on like a Yuumi board normally. So I think this is a fine change, and just a nerf to like a compensation nerf to this, because, you know, when you get it, you're gonna be in a better spot for it. I think makes a lot of sense. Kingslayer was bugged, kind of like, I think it like gave you gold on loss or something like that. So this is disabled. Overheal buffed up. pretty considerably. I will say, I think the biggest issue with Overheal is the comp where it should be the best in Duelist Ashe. I'm pretty sure it is just bugged. I've not seen that they bug fixed it at all. Maybe I'll look at the bug fixes here. But the thing about Ashe is while she's casting, she's technically not like auto attacking for the purposes of something like Overheal, which makes this augment absolutely untakeable on Ashe. So if you've ever taken this augment in Ashe, sorry, you should have, tested out that it worked, I guess, XD. But some buffs to this I think are needed, but it's, I think the bigger buff to this would just be fixing its interaction with Ashe. So perfect form, Zach. Oh, it's getting buffed up again. Couldn't this have been before my my Tactician's Cup game so I didn't get freaking griefed by taking this? But I mean, good buffs. Maybe I will take this now. You absolutely should not take it on current patch, but maybe you should take it on the new patch. So exciting to see. Kyun does say like all hero augments are takeable just for good direction, and so looks like he thinks this one's decent enough. Psychic Forge banned on 4-2. I think this is fine. It's a really awkward augment to take on 4-2. Tesla Coil nerf. Long needed. So I think it's very good. This is another crazy one. Tournament Titans health per win nerf. This is the one where we watched a VOD from the Citadel tournament and somebody took this and went the fastest 8th of their life. Is this augment overperforming? Because I've never seen anyone really succeed with it. It's another weird one that I don't get this at all. Seems very strange to me. And then Shen, slight nerfs. I think, yeah, this augment is fantastic. So a slight nerf to his AP scaling is needed. Okay. Items, some pretty big changes coming out here. So Gwinsu's is being buffed here. Kraken, the max stacks is being nerfed, so you can't stack it up as high, but you were getting more AD per stack, and the other thing that comes with that is that you get to max stack faster and get that max stack effect of Krakens faster. So it's actually kind of just straight up a buff to Kraken. You're getting more, AD per auto per auto, and then you're getting to max stacks faster, and then at max stacks, 15 times 4 is 60, 20 times 3 is 60, so you're getting the same max. So it's just a straight up buff to Kraken. So hopefully, maybe this can be a decent buff to Ashe and Xayah. I'm kind of surprised that Ashe is like still kind of trash, but I think her like rework was just was too much, just because Q and rates are very, very poorly. This is a really good change as well. Last Whisper Sunder applies on everything now, not just physical. They did this to Void Staff. I don't really know why it took so long to do it to LW, but a very, very good change here. And then they're buffing up some of the Radiant items to kind of match up with these changes. Radiant Gwinsu's a slight buff here. I think this is good. I mean, it's, Ashe is the premier user of it, and Ashe sucks. And so like a buff to them, I think makes a lot of sense. Radiant Kraken's buffed as well. This is one that I saw some people complaining about because it was already performing fine in the data. And so this might be one of the best Radiant items now. And then Radiant LW, same change. Augments, or artifacts actually. Sniper's Focus ranged is going from a 2 range increase to 1. Pretty big nerf to one that already I don't think is that like that amazing in the stats. Like I'm pretty sure if you like look at the stats on Sniper's Focus here, it's not like amazing. It's like very middle of the pack here. Yeah. So I don't really know why exactly this is nerfed so hard, but okay. I mean, I imagine it's going to be a lot worse now. But yeah, I would have liked to see maybe like a slight compensation buff to its damage or something like that. But all right. And then I think this is the last thing before bugs. Yeah. So I'm actually 18 minutes. I did pretty good. I mean, it's a smallest patch, but still huge compared to a patch this far in the set. Best defense nerf, pretty big nerf, but I think pretty necessary. Classy being removed on a lot of these units. Why is it 2 lines? Lucian, Kennen, Lux, Ahri. I mean, I guess these are the Sorks and these are the Bastions. Yeah, I mean, classy on a lot of these. It's only really been usable on like heavyweights from what I've seen. So I think this is a good change. Denting Blows, the Vi power up being buffed a little bit, good. Fairy Tail nerf is another nerf to Kog'Maw, by the way, which is I'm a little surprised by this as well. I don't really see why this needs to be nerfed. It's not like I see people outside of Kog'Maw doing really well in Fairy Tail, and if you're gonna nerf Cog and you're gonna nerf Yasuo, why are we nerfing Fairy Tail as well? I don't really completely understand that. Fury Break buff here. This is where you see these Fury Break comps. So maybe that'll be my VOD for tomorrow if I can find one. If anyone has a VOD of somebody playing this Fury Break Gangplank idea, there's a VOD review suggestion channel in my Discord. Go put it there because I do really want to review one of those. If not, I'll have to just dig through a bunch of VODs maybe. Mana Rush is becoming more frequent actually. Okay. I mean, interesting. It was very rare for a lot of the set, and now it's being more frequent. Okay. Max Arcana, slight nerf. This was really good on stuff like on Katarina and things like that, so I think this is good. Over 9k, slight nerf. I think this is kind of necessary. This one is still very, very strong. Stalking Dart, the Ari one, buffed. I think this is good. This one kind of sucks. Super Mega Base AD being buffed up to 30. That's pretty good. I think necessary. Supremacy. Yeah, no one ever took this. Thrill Seeker buff duration up a little bit. Good. Unstoppable. This is the other like big change. Unstoppable. Nerf the stun duration and nerf the HP. I still think it's going to be very good in the Katarina comp to allow Katarina to kind of fly towards backline. I honestly like low-key feel like this should have just been removed and they should have buffed Katarina or Rakan or something, but I guess they didn't want to make like crazy change, but still gonna be really broken in that comp, and then like not that great in a lot of other stuff. And then yeah, I think they just changed a lot of tooltips here. Yeah, tooltips. Star Sailor properly applies the stat bonus correctly every combat. I think there was some kind of weird, I don't know, a combat start thing? I don't know what this bug is. Kaisen Yumi do the private round of damage with bullet hell rather than reduced damage, which is crazy to me. That, I mean, Yumi, people were already taking bullet hell, so this is a buff to bullet hell Yumi, which is interesting as well. This is a big one. Monster champions can be combined when the player's bench is full. God bless, thank you. This was such a bad bug. And then Crystal Gambit prop no longer rounds as visual display, which occasionally causes misleading cash outs to occur. What? I don't know what this one is either. Okay, overall, really good change. I will say, I have heard from some people who have played a lot of games on this patch that it's a very, very good patch. Someone even said that this is like the promised land and that like everything is playable. Obviously, forecasts are a little bit, you know, weaker based on what we've seen here. But honestly, we saw, you know, the slight buff to Yumi, the slight buff to Karma in these changes. So maybe that brings forecasts exactly where they should be. So I'm excited to play on the new patch, excited to watch people play on the new patch. Let me know how your climb is going. If you got a little bit of time left in your climb and you want to get some coaching, Metafy, link in the description down below, of course. Or, you know, you can watch my VOD reviews to gain infinite knowledge and climb that way. All right. Thank you guys for watching as always. I will see you tomorrow for a VOD review on the new patch. Yeah. Like, comment, subscribe. Did I say that already? Do that if you haven't already. Bye-bye.